Coach K,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dr. Nakumbe?
Fabulous. You know what? Dang it, I'm still in this dingy. I still have this dingy white wall. I, I
You
don't
can
know.
wear whatever you want, you
I
know?
mean, I have the green machine, whatever, the green wall to
Yeah.
make some. But every time I put the stuff on, it looks, it looks weird. Then you can see gaps between. So I got to fine
Yeah.
tune that. So much. I so much apologize. You're shining, looking good over there, and then this dingy dude over here. So,
You can't go wrong
oh
though.
man. But
Yeah, you're
all
good.
right. Hey, listen, I'm
Hello.
excited about tonight's show. I try and be excited. Not try. I'm usually excited about every week, but this particular topic, I would say, is one of my near and dear topics, and I've been speaking to it for about it. This is 23 since about 2010.
Wow.
So it's one of my favorites to talk about. We're in part two, really breaking the cycle of inaction. Now, as I said last week, I I won't say I fell off, but if I were to be totally honest, I've been inactive when it comes to, because there's this one thing there's one part of it where you have a goal and then
Mhm.
it dies down. You just kind of don't stick to it. It's
Mm,
another part about being active when it comes to what I believe in, my core beliefs, my values, um, things like that. And I'm talking about more than just the last few years where I feel like the world has been changing or our society more specifically has been changing. There were things where I'm like, man, I know what I stand for, but I'm not actively pushing. And then I'm at that stage in life where I'm like, I need to get out to the younger folks, kind of just give them whatever, however they lay it down, give it to them. But I haven't been as active. I was listening to the Harris Tribe, Mr. He Said and Mrs. She Said. And on their shows, they were talking about nutrition and health and the parts that the doctors don't tell you. And I'm like, oh man, I have a presentation called that, the part that they don't tell you. And that's the whole part of it. Like, there's some pieces we don't know. So I was like, dang, yeah. And then a couple of the Mr. He Said shows where they were breaking down movies. I love going to the movies. And because I have that clinical side, I'm always analyzing. It's horrible. I'm cursed. I'm always analyzing the movies and the
right.
messages. And sometimes I
Right.
speak to them and sometimes I don't. And I was thinking, like, dude, you got soft on me. Like, what happened? Because no, if you ask anyone, because I'm not talking about just my comedy days, there's nothing more, I can't think of a word, but when someone sees you later, like years later, oh my gosh,
Mm,
dude, first of all, you had me cracking up. Thank you. Yeah, I was the ass clown. Thank you. But when someone says, dude, do you still keep it real? Do you still tell it like
mm,
it is? And I was like, really? You thought? And they're like, yeah. And I remembered I took pride in being a spokesperson, like speaking for those who couldn't speak, standing for those who couldn't
mm.
stand, articulating those who really didn't articulate. I used to be proud about that. I was like, oh, in the last few years, what missed opportunities? And then I had to
Mm.
do my own soul searching about what happened, what happened. You speak about this, don't you?
Right.
So I'm like, ah. So I felt compelled, and I wanted to do this with you and then bring in some guests. So tonight, last week, we talked about what is inaction, what is like trauma, the response to trauma, like what, just the what. Today, I
Mm-hmm.
want to I want to get into breaking down those walls of inaction and the 4Ds, which we didn't really get into last week. I want to get into the 4Ds, which we'll explain in a minute, that I think is quite significant to breaking down those walls. I want us to have a big conversation to include the Harris tribe, so they'll be with us tonight. So cool. Let's give some shout outs to who's in the chat here. And I have to pull it up and make sure I have it.
I gotcha. So we have Lady Navoa. She was here bright and early.
Nice,
Hey,
nice.
Lady Navoa. We have Notorious Ruthless Media. We have
Okay.
Animated. And we have Mrs. She
Right.
Said, and also here with
Yep.
He Said, the Harris Tribe. We also have Bon Eric. Where's Your Faith? We have CBN, of course. He's managing the back. Thank you, CBN. Of course, we are here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. So grateful to be able to have a platform on Black Man Unfiltered's channel. And I think I got everyone for now.
Awesome. I'm looking at it. And so, yes, shout out to all of those folks. And I'm not the best. I'm not making an excuse, but I'm not the best at reading the, almost said the teleprompter, but the thing while it's going.
Chat? Oh,
yeah.
You're good.
And
good.
so I don't always catch everything. I just see if I see like a name or two that I'm like, yes. All right, they're here. Yes, she's here. Yes. So other than that, I wait till the questions pop up. So tonight's topic, and welcome. I see Mr. He Said and She Said is here. Welcome. Yay, what's up? Let's give a round of applause. Please put a one in the chat. I'm going to steal this from Sir Eric. Please put a one in the chat if you can celebrate the Harris Tribe. Yes. Please celebrate with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having
us. You bet.
Always a
I was
pleasure.
saying, I don't know how much you caught at the beginning. I was actually inspired by a couple of your shows. And in the YouTube streets, I mean, there's the entertainment, and then there's that sort of middle piece, education-tainment, and then there's the piece where, let me get my shit together. I hear you, and I caught a couple of your episodes that was on that end, like, oh damn. And what's unique, and I'm being transparent, I can get caught up in the status. Okay, so like people see me here in the YouTube streets, but I can get caught up in, yes, I don't smoke, I don't drink, cool, a little nerdy, take care of my business. But I had I'm not talking about one of them extra value pack cans of Pringles, and was going to town when you were talking about health. I was like, oh, it's horrible. I was going, right? I was going to town, and I'm like, okay, your fat ass sitting up here. But, just kind of joking, but saying to myself. And then listening to Mr. He Said, I'm like, wow, because I'm a movie buff, but I get real and psychological with the stuff, start analyzing. And I was listening to your show, and I thought, we talk about this woke culture, but I'm thinking we're not really as awake as we say we are or need to be. And then the last piece, wait a second. Oh, we're in the culture about I. And when I'm done, when I'm gone, when it's my turn, what about tomorrow? And one thing I've always appreciated about what you emphasize is value for the family, value for our children, and for tomorrow. Putting our selfishness to the side, taking care of our family, doing the best that we can, and setting them up for success the best that we can. So even for their tomorrow. And when I watched your shows and I commented on a few of them and I read back, hey, we're trying to do the thing, we're talking, are we really building? Say no more. Let me throw my hat in the ring and do my little piece, right? Because we all play a unique role. And so this is just the first step. Wanted to have that conversation and talk about some of the clinical perspectives that possibly get in the way for people and that cause them to be inactive. Other than talking that shit and promising and lying to themselves and getting caught up and distracted, there's some other internal things that happen. And I wanted to talk about it. And so that's why you were here. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you. Thank you for having us. And, it's always a pleasure whenever I'm able to sit with you or Coach K on the same panel, or to have you guys in the chat, because you just bring a different echelon of conversation. It's more therapeutic. It's more solution based, and it's more mature. And I appreciate you too for just creating that atmosphere. As far as the topic and the way we handle our shows, that's exactly our intent, Doc. We want to be able to entertain, but still get a point across, show you that we have, you know, a mature intellect. We were told we were old souls. We were one of those, you know, in our neighborhood. You are far and few between the type of, you know, young people that you guys are. And we always held that near and dear to our heart and had that in common and continue to walk in that. And, you know, just the missus and her approach and me with the movies, that was exactly our intent. You know, my favorite movie is not everybody's cup of tea, 12 Angry Men, 1957. So, you know, that's not what most young guys, most 49, you know, shout out to me making 49 the other day, 49-year-old guys are not watching something like that. You know what I mean? They're more Boomerang, more Boys in the Hood, more Juice, but that showed me that one man can make a difference. If that movie doesn't show you that one man can make a difference, you won't be able to see it. And then just all of the nuances and how it transcends from back then to now and all of the different things. And just wanting to understand people. We see people, we see the negative, the positive spectrum, but we want to understand why people do what they do. Why do we make the choices we make? Why do we attach to who we attach to? So we both dive in our own way. But me, I dove into DRD4 and progesterone and just so many different things to think about, to why we choose what we choose and why we feel we can't stay in a situation for a long time. And again, just these cerebral approaches, these analytical approaches were different from what we do on Thursday and different from what she does on Sunday. So that was just my niche and, you know, where I figured I would fit in. And then the missus, you know, took the baton and ran with it on Sundays. And
it's more for self-reflection.
Indeed.
It's really about self-reflection, because when you talk about breaking cycles, you have to, you know, if we come from that dysfunction, we know what it looks like firsthand, you know, so you kind of have a blueprint. We always talk about that, the blueprint of what not to do. Both of us came with that. We had no blueprint of what to do, but we absolutely had the blueprint of what not to do. So knowing those not to do's, we agreed. We thought they were wise and smart standards and morals, and we held them, you know, really upfront in our marriage. So, you know, just continuing to share the same compass was very important. You know, again, like we grew up separately, but we grew up the same, you know, the old soul and, you know, kind of moving forward. So trying to find somebody to mesh with is important. And the self-reflecting, like I said, it's a lot of things that we didn't have. We didn't have the adults that we are around us, you know, so we try to move purposeful with that. And the fact that we chose to have another child towards the end and 40 something, you know, was unique, because now we have a whole nother life. We got 3 adult kids and a whole nother person. So, you know, God grant us these, you know, another 20 years. You won't have to look on here to get the knowledge from us. But it was definitely that. My mindset is, you know, this is for my children and my children's children. You know, if this continues to exist, they can always go back and click and say, look at my grandma and grandpa. It was crazy.
Absolutely.
You know,
it was definitely a video documentary was our intent. And if, you know, just like anything, if you can spark one person, if you can spark change in one individual, then mission accomplished. And then when you know, reached out and said that this message resonated with you, you know, that's all we need for solidification of what we're doing and for us to continue fighting the good fight. So thank you for having us. Sorry for being so long-winded, but again, you know, very grateful for being here, very grateful for this atmosphere and for you two particularly. So thank y'all for having us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Usually when, you know, I mix comedy, I'm a former stand-up comedian. I still do comedy, but in my presentations, I get pretty theatrical. Coach K and I have been able to balance each other out with kind of this theatrical piece and some sound conversation, coaching, and clinical perspectives. Tonight, we want to offer the same thing, some clinical perspectives, but mixed with real life situations. So clinical perspectives mixed with real life situations. This is open to a wide audience. It's to anyone who feels they've been stuck or not operating to their full potential because of lack of awareness to what's been going on the inside, not paying attention to it, and then it's been impacting how you do stuff on the outside in all your relationships. I do have a group in the Philippines who's watching. I've actually done this for expats in India. Only a few who wanted that conversation to be part of that about, man, is this where I want to end at? This is where I want to stop at? How do I grow? How do I grow? And then a group in the Philippines. So sometimes I may slow down or repeat something specifically tonight because my rapid New York English won't do them any justice. And I don't speak the best Tagalog, but I will slow it down a couple of times when I make a few key points. The goal for tonight is, and I'll just read this directly. So for anyone who feels challenged by negative beliefs, so not feelings, I'm not talking about necessarily feelings tonight, negative belief systems. We want to get into, one, where did it come from? Two, how is it impacting you? And three, what do you need to do something about it? Now, part of the group conversation here, we're going to look at different angles of like, man, how did this come about? From society, from culture, politics, you name it, but we're going to talk about it. I'm also going to lend a direct, I'm going to push a direct message and request to those who are working with the Black community to say, hey, not only after tonight do you hopefully you hear something that you can take away and you could do something for yourself, but if you are there or not there, what can you do? I'm going to push to see if you'll be willing to help that next child. I'm going to push to see if you will help that next family. I'm going to push that if you can't offer anything to them, how can you get out of the way so that someone else can receive the message? So again, it's open to everyone, but I don't want to BS. I don't want to blow smoke. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence. My mission tonight is to wake up people who want to be self-aware and get back in action, and also intentionally addressing the Black community to say, we have a responsibility, and I task you with that. All right. Before we start, I'll have a video clip, and this video clip is just for a little laughter. I'm going to pull away a message from the video, and then we'll jump into these 4 Ds and have the conversation.
Middle of a pandemic, and we in the middle of chaos. People, don't increase the violence. Violence only increases destruction. Listen, don't increase violence. Violence only increases destruction. Please listen.
We have to normalize telling our friends their breath stink. Okay, the problem will never be solved if you just keep letting that heat hit your face. Okay, this brother is suffering. His eyelashes are falling off of his face. I blame the cameraman because he could have said, cut. I'm gonna come on around to the other side of the car for your friend's health. This man talking about violence. You are committing violence on my nostrils. That's why you need real friends, good friends that'll be honest with you. My friend is gonna pull you to the side and say, hey man, come in and holler at you real quick. Did you brush your teeth this morning? Because you are rotting on the inside.
We in the middle of a pandemic, and we in the middle of chaos.
All right. Now,
I won't just,
all right. So he said, we don't talk to our friends, right? We don't share. So I have another video where I won't say all. So before people get up in arms who are listening to the replay about all, if it fits, it fits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So for those who it fits, here's a video where we are supporting friends. CBN, if you'll play this one, please. And I just gave it to him so in case anyone's thinking, what's he doing back there? Is he? There we go.
Yes. Yes. I say yes. This is the content I came, my brothers. We have to support one another. That thing was fanging, and my brother seen that this young man was challenged in his elevation, and he gave him a platform to succeed. That's what I'm talking about.
I support this. Send this to a brother that you want to see succeed today.
My boy, you gotta get a booster seat. Give him the booster seat.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for being a friend.
A friend indeed, right? Yes.
That thing was thinking.
Yeah. Now, one would say it's respectful, another one would say it was disrespectful. The breath, probably, I respected him by not telling him. It was disrespectful that he didn't tell me. The next video, I just wanted to take away one piece, our focus. Our focus. So when the ass was all up there and jiggling and stuff, it was important to make sure he had the best experience. Important that for the ass jiggling, he had the best experience. Not bashing, not whatever, just want to take that moment. Let's do one more about respect. This one is more so for couples. CBM, whenever you're ready, that last video, please.
No matter what you feel comfortable with, you on the outside, I'm on the inside. So if you want to get in here, then you have to agree to the +1. Okay,
yeah, sure. Okay, I agree.
Okay, you agree? Yeah, man, come on.
Don't do me like that.
Come on in.
Who is this?
This is +1.
Oh, this is the +1. We were supposed to choose her together. It wasn't supposed to be no a la carte type of situation.
Yeah, now you lost that privilege when you left up out of here ignorant. So
it was a miscommunication. All couples go.
no, well, it wasn't no miscommunication. You miscommunicated what we about to do
I
now.
I did not. Look, this is too much. Listen, you are very lovely looking, but I am just not into. Look, I'm gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay.
Sure.
Oh no,
you're not gonna stay with us.
you and National Geographic, y'all have fun. Okay, I can't do it. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I told you.
You told me what?
If you leave up out of here again,
Uh-huh.
it's gonna be +1 every time you come back.
Okay, whatever. It's gonna be -1 because she's not gonna be here when I get back. Okay. Don't make me call your mama. Bye-bye.
All right, what?
Are you talking about a plural marriage?
Yeah, because when you left up out that door, see, you thought you was gonna play me. I'm not the one to get played. From now on, when you act up, you just know it's a +1.
I don't feel comfortable with that.
No matter what you feel comfortable with, you on the outside, I'm on the inside. So if you want to get in here, then you have to agree to the
+1.
Child.
Yeah.
Wow.
So keeping score type of.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
Well, no, yeah, right.
Or-
Now, the reason I played that one, he felt disrespected. Whatever happened, he felt disrespected. To rectify that, he took initiative to create his program, and then she would have to buy in to his program, and that would have him feel validated, acknowledged, respected. At the end of that, even though his greatest intention was for him to be respected in his home, she said, I'm going to call your mama, and it's going to be -1 when you and Miss Geographic is gone. So what he hoped for still wasn't going to end that way. Now, as far as a healthy relationship, awesome. As far as when it comes to respect, different story. Between the 3 videos and the takeaways, what do you guys think?
Oh man, the first video with the guy talking. I
Was
mean,
it
I
breath?
always been that person. Yeah, the first encounter is this. Like, I'm not playing all of that. You're not gonna be able to just keep growing over me with your breath. I'm a friend that's definitely gonna tell you your breath is hot. You need some, I always got something, some candy, something to nibble on. You need some water. And then I'm gonna try to help you with, trying to work on that halitosis. Right. And the second one, oh my goodness, give him a stool to help him get his leg up. so he can get a good position on that booty, you know?
Right. Right.
So we help out and assist in that kind of way, no problem. We see that a lot. Oh my goodness. Disrespectful on furniture. And the last one, I was a little confused by it, but she must have, like you said, did something wrong and, you know, left the home, right? So she was trying to work her way back in. She's coming back, and now he put something, you know, he added some extra.
Absolutely. A prerequisite.
to Indeed. That, which is a whole nother person. Yeah, that was a bit much.
Okay.
For me,
just to skip, but
I would probably reflect in totality of all of them. For me, it's well-roundedness, prioritizing. Like these things are important, and you know, like you said, when it comes to the booty, we are very astute, we are very resourceful, we are very resilient. But when it comes to those other things that make us well-rounded, whether it's the boardroom, whether it's academics, whether it's book smarts, whatever the case may be, we don't exude that same well-roundedness. And that's my, you know, problem with people, because we are so sophisticated in some areas and not in others. And prioritizing, you know, what's important to us, what we make important in our households. It reflects. It reflects on the people that we push out into the world. It reflects on our demeanor and our decorum. It reflects. So, you know, I think we need to prioritize and make valuable and intangible things a priority versus something different. Because, again, you know, you can see and the prerequisite, that's just, you know, a standard, you know, and a lot of people have problem with people who have standards. And if I know what my standards are and I lay them out, you know, I really don't desire to push back, hate my mom and all of the other defense mechanisms, because who are you trying to convince, me or you? Because I know my standards. And like he, you know, so animately put, this is what it is. It's a plus one. You want it or you don't. You can hit the door. And, you know, most men are not confident in themselves, not confident in the situation, and confident in their capabilities to be that cut and dry, to be that black and white, to be that, you know, ultimatum-ish. But, you know, until we start to value ourselves, until we become our biggest advocates, you know, the results are going to be what we see. But I have no problem with, you know, the way he handled that situation. And you guys heard her say she was calling his mother, but I heard her say she coming back. Ain't that something? I'm calling your mama, and it's going to be a -1 when I come back, because they always come back, and they love to be places where they're not wanted. And I'm not attacking. I'm just calling it like a 50-year-old man sees it. When someone don't want you, if they give you one reason, take it. Find someone who appreciates you. Go where you are celebrated and not tolerated. And I am a huge advocate of that, only because I'm a huge advocate of myself above all and everybody. I was with myself first. I was here first. So I'm going to be loyal to myself. So that means loving myself, having self-esteem and self-confidence and all the other self things. Self. I have those. And you're not going to do me wrong. You're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to talk to me all crazy, because I love myself. And, you know, I think that's the difference between people, boys and men, and girls and women, and the mature and the not, and something different is just that love for self, that genuine understanding that you are worthy, you are capable, you should be desired and celebrated and accepted and all of those things. And I think the rest falls into play.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to push back just for the conversation's sake. Coach K, if you present as my wife, I think last time we were up here presenting husband and wife. Alexis from Texas was my wife. Then we got a divorce. I'm gonna get it back though. But for tonight, Coach K, Coach K, you're going to be my wife, all right?
I'm always here, that's right.
Cool. So, you know, these 4 Ds that I'm talking about, now listen to what the Harris tribe said, and here's what I want to challenge. You know, I can grow in a family that's healthy and strong. I can grow in a family that's not so much. But at some point, I'm going to hit or have hit me something called being discouraged. And the videos we talked about, I said, had levels of disrespect. But I challenge and say that we get discouraged first. So as a baby, we are often told, no matter how stinky you go, I love you. So it starts with the diaper change. Oochie poochie poo, I love you. You said I love you. Oochie poochie poo. Oh, you were too stinky, but I love you. I love you. In short, no matter how stinky, poopy life got, I love you. At that small age, I'm not really computing, but I'm growing into this idea of love. And in fact, I'm conditioned because parents will say, hey, you were going to bed and didn't tell me you love me? 20 years later, that looks like, so you're not going to talk to me? You're just going to turn your ass over? You're not going to say nothing about you love me? So that's a condition. And at some point, when I recognize the condition is love equals presence, love equals kisses and hugs, and no matter what, I still love you. But yet when we go to the grocery store and I grab a Snickers bar and you say, no, well, no is opposite of yes. I'm confused by the no. If I throw a temper tantrum and you don't play that, then I'm confused because I didn't get what I want. And every behavior has a purpose. Every behavior, good or bad, has a purpose. So now I feel discouraged because I'm not getting my purpose met. So I have a wife, Coach K, and when she says, not tonight, I feel discouraged. But some will say, oh, because your wife turned you down. But how do I know what discouraged feels like just because my wife, Coach K, now says for our YouTube show, because I think last time we were husband and wife, Coach K, someone wrote in there, oh, I thought you two were a lovely couple. Do you remember that? Did you see that post on the wall, Coach K? Did you see that? So anyway, just for YouTube purposes.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, someone wrote that we were really mad. So for YouTube purposes, we're role playing. But when Coach K, my wife, tells me no, the sting, the perceived sting, where did that come from? So I'm pulling in times that I was discouraged as a child, told not to speak, told to sit down, be quiet, not now, raise my hand at school, I'll pick you later, next, over here, over there, looked over, passed by, I'm discouraged. Mom, Coach K, or you, Mrs. She said, your child, two children are in the bed, one is smaller than the other. You go in at 2 a.m. to change the diaper. You crack a toe, pow! And I'm like, oh, Mom. And damn, you're up at 5:30 already, cooking and preparing for your husband's day, cooking and preparing for the kids' school or whatever, offering nurture, love, and care. I'm sitting there, not really wise about what I'm thinking, but I'm sitting there wondering, especially if dad is nonchalant, thanks, babe, bye. Thanks, babe, bye. Mom cracked her toe. But I'm not going to fight dad about it. I'm just 6, 7 years old. I'm not going to fight dad. But in the back of my mind, I developed this schema and this belief, not against dad, against you, Mom. I'm developing this thing called hostility towards women because you are the queen of the home. You broke your toe last night. You were doing this and that, and you don't even have enough gall to say, no, I'm not doing it. Dad didn't even step up to, wow, Mom. So I'm discouraged in the whole idea of this mother, father. I'm discouraged about this whole idea of marriage that you two talked about. I'm discouraged about this family stuff. And I let that lead me. I let that feeling of discouragement lead me. So then when I roll over to Coach K, I'm like, hey, babe, how was your day? And she says, ooh, not now. I'm quick to be like, well, fuck you. If I talked and found out my breath stank and she didn't say anything, and I'm like, why didn't you tell? That's right. I've been disappointed before. I can't expect her. We talk about self-love. There is no self-love because I'm used to taking care of others and expecting someone will take care of me. I'll land it there just to put that in your lap as pushback, intentional pushback, to say, what do we do with that? Discouragement.
For me, discouragement. I think you have to internalize, and either it's going to do one or two things: be a catalyst or a crutch. I'm a sports person, so discouragement comes with the territory to an extent. And, I think that sometimes can transcend into relationships because, like a team, we're on the same side and we're working towards a goal like a championship, but there's still competition within the team. There's some players that are better than others, and there are some players that are fighting to show themselves and maybe take a spot or whatever the case may be. But there's still competition within this family unit, within this brotherhood, within this unified system working toward this one goal, but still competition within it. So again, just being cultivated in that atmosphere, growing up in that atmosphere and being very astute to it made me understand that this can be, also transcended into relationships, into the business world. But you have to be able to self-reflect, take that information and process. Either you're going to get better at whatever your weak points are, or you're going to balance out if it's, something that you're strong at and you need to pull back. But again, that self-reflection is required to make the necessary changes to get your coach or your significant other or your boss to see that you're not only buying into their system, but you're applying yourself, applying your talents, and, continuing to value being on this team or in this job or relationship. So I think that would help, the discouragement. And again, it can be one or two things, a catalyst or a crutch, but it's on you to make it, one of the two.
I just want to pluck a word out of there: introspection. So for our listeners, I want to pull a word out of there: introspection. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree with the team thing. I grew up with siblings. We're all 11 months apart. So it was always a competition. And being that I was the baby, it was looked at that I got my way all the time, right? So when I didn't get my way, right, it was a problem, right? Gonna have a fit or whatever as a child. But I learned quickly, very young, that it wasn't okay. I cannot get my way all the time. I saw how it affected my brothers. So I was a child that self-reflected even that young. So I tried to curve my behavior and not, expect to always get my way. Mm-hmm. So, and getting this man, he was so logical, and it was like, yeah, just really cut and dry. And that's what I appreciated, no sugarcoating, with how he felt as a man, that being who he was when I met him, I appreciated. I didn't want to try to change it. I wanted him to open up more, like, give me more, talk the best. But I understood where he came from, a whole different team, so it was a little different, but I get that.
Got it. I'm going to pull away a few words from that. Understanding, right, which really also involves some flexibility. Understanding, and I'm going to pull away expectations. The greatest lead to disappointment in the world when we have expectations. The greatest way to disappointment. I just want to put that to the side, because when we get into those conversations about what does it take to break these, to challenge these perceived thoughts of being discouraged and shut down, there are things we can do about it. Okay, so let me clarify before I go to the next one. Because Coach K, I said, when you and I are married, and then someone actually did put on one of our shows, we were a great couple. So Alexis from Texas, she was my YouTube. Do you remember the show where she came on, and then Anthony came on, and they talked about?
Yeah. We were talking about communication.
I think so. So she was my wife there, but we haven't been on stage here since. So that's why I said she divorced me or whatever. But I don't want people getting hyped up talking about, wait a second, what? So I said, I'm going to get her back, meaning one of these days I'm going to get her back here. So
that's right.
Just want to clarify. All right. once we feel discouraged and we believe we can't do something, that opens the floodgates to feeling disrespected. So first we feel discouraged, like we don't have a voice and we don't have choice. And a lot of couples I work with, and I don't know if you get this also, Coach K, when you get those older adolescents, that they feel like finally I have a voice and finally I have choice. And a lot of times in relationships, it's not that either one of the two want to really fight each other on certain things. It's that they finally feel like they have a voice and they finally feel they have a choice in the matter. So it's not to fight that person, but it is to feel free, to have that freedom. But when we feel disrespected, when we feel like we don't matter, that has power. That has a way of leading to people feeling shut down. And that can impact the way we move. And I think we lost.
They had to go out, come back in.
Got it. Okay. Oh yeah, got it. So when we don't feel disrespected. Now I'm going to read this. Disrespect leaves individuals feeling unvalued, unappreciated, and it's important to acknowledge the feelings of disrespect and to take steps to address them. So, Coach K, putting it back into the sets, get back. So again, if we role playing that you and I are married, there's a certain belief that once we took the vows, once you agreed to something, that you know how to do it. And if I take that belief and add in expectation, it narrows your window for mistakes. In my mind, it would narrow a person's window for mistakes. You know the mission and you know what's expected of you. How would you not know what to do? So what are your thoughts if I'm challenging you on based on what agreements you made and what expectations I have?
What comes to mind is, and where we have trouble, we run into trouble in relationships with these expectations, is when there's a gap between those expectations and reality. Because whatever those expectations are, okay, we understand what the word is. I guess we're talking about the vows. So for better, for worse, that's very subjective. We have expectations for better, for worse, but what does that mean?
Mm-hmm. What does it mean? Well, it means better or worse through sickness and in health. Most couples, so there's the one that they get married when they're not feeling, when they're in the hospital, in jail, or whatever, and they know like there's some things that are not going to work out, and I want to marry you before it's too late, right? I want the legal part of it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about most couples who get married, we are most likely healthy at the time. I'm not talking about my drug addictions. I'm not talking about my corn, pause. I'm not talking about my corn addiction. I'm not talking about my gambling addiction. I'm not talking about my SIX addiction. I'm not talking about my codependency. I'm not talking about my need for lots of love, like intimacy. I'm not talking about the hole I have that no matter how much you pour into me, the intimacy seeks out. I'm not talking about those things. I'm not talking about my inability to negotiate. I'm not talking about my inability to compromise. I'm not talking about my poor communication skills. I'm doing the opposite. I'm blowing you a dream. I'm telling you how wonderful it is going to be with me. So when it comes to reality, sickness, and in health, no matter what the problems are, if you don't know what the problems are, then you're only working with what you know. You're only going to work with what you see. So yeah, at that moment, it is. The reality is you knew what you came into. No, I knew what you told me. Right? But that's the debate. When do we tell a partner that we're sick? When do we tell a partner that we're not stable? When do we tell a partner that, I don't know, let me be honest with you, I'm not the healthiest? So anyway.
I mean, do we have the capacity as humans in everyday relationships, I mean, doing every day with our spouse or our soon-to-be spouse, whatever stage they're at, to cover every single thing that's potentially going to come up. Now, of course, the big things that you were just referencing, you know, being sick in that way.
Mhm.
But I mean, when does that come up? And what are the things that you don't consider that you know are there, but it's not at the front of your mind.
Mhm.
But you know, you didn't intentionally leave it out, but I don't know.
At what point did the person forget that they had herpes?
Oh no, that's different. That's a different one.
I'm just saying, but at what point did they forget? At what point did they forget that they pulled out a knot of ones and pretending they had money, but that was really their rent money, but they were pretending that they had money? At what point did you not know? At what point did you not know you rented a car that is not your vehicle? At what point did you not know that your family chaos, the moment your new wife gets in the relationship, the mama drama, chaos, bullshit is going to jump in? At what point don't we know? And I'm not challenging you, Coach K. I'm just saying that is a question like, well, it didn't come to mind. At what point did we ever forget about it? I'm going to throw that over to the Harris tribe. What are your thoughts?
I mean, my initial thought is it not know or ignore the reality of? Because, you know, again, you know, I just alluded to my missus. I don't think I've ever went to sleep not remembering if I owed somebody some money, whether it was the light company, like, you know what, maybe I could put half on it. And then I throw but I know I owed him $400. Now, how I'm going to pay it, I know I owe Tony up the street $35.
Right.
On my luck. Again, whether I ignore the reality, I push it down, I use defense mechanisms to cover it up, I deflect, I use sign language, whatever I do, but I know it's there. That's why Michael Jackson made the song Man in the Mirror, and that's why it sold so much, and that's why everyone resonates so good to it, because it's true. When you look at that person in the mirror, you know who looking back at you. You know you're a liar. You know you're a deadbeat. You know. You could try to put on whatever clothes you want, jump in whatever car you want, but you know, and again, this is why, you know, people receive people the way they do in these spaces, because people like me are very unapologetic. I know what I do with the 365 days in a year. I know the nonprofit community board that I sit on. I know the therapeutic foster kids that we've taken in. I know the respite care kids that we've done. I know the community garden that we plant in the community. I know the homeschooling that the missus do. I know I go back to my old community and give back to the people. I know I live in Baltimore, so I try to give to them instead of taking away. I know what I do with my time. I just buried my best friend last week. Paul Bearer said something nice, wore something nice, hugged his mother, told his son I'm here for him, told his girl I'm here for her, and I'm not lying. So again, I know when I look in the mirror who I am, and I know that other people put up these shields and walls and all of these other things because they don't. And that's the difference. So, you know, be a plus sign in the world. Either you're a plus sign or you're a minus sign.
I'm going to glorify you right now. I'm going to glorify you. I'm going to put you on the pedestal. I'm going to say, damn, must be nice to be like that. That's the kind version. The fuck you think he is? And here's the kind version of the pushback. Dude, if I could ever be like you, if I could ever be like you, the not so kind, and I even go as far as saying the interfere. Hey man, you on some bullshit. If you're almighty and all higher than thou, that's good for you, man. You ain't gotta bring that shit around here. We regular folk over here. All right. So you one of them uppities, good for you, man. You know you good. How do we work with that? What do we say to that?
We continue to be ourselves. Again, I hear all of those things that you just mentioned, but at the same time, you know, I know who I am. So again, I know I'm going to be received by some like iced tea and others like cod liver oil and others somewhere in between. It's on me to continue to be true to Sean Harris, Mr. He Said, and everybody else that the different people in my world know, because I don't think you only live once. I think you only die once. I think you live a bunch of lives. A bunch of people know you as a bunch of things. And I just, like I said, continue to walk in the confidence of who I am. Having this loving woman, having these kids that admire me and respect what I do just solidifies and puts gas in my tank to continue to be who I am. But, you know, again, I started out unapologetically me and by myself. So I'm going to continue to walk with the air of confidence that I do, continue to try to be an example. And again, just, you know, take that to bed with me at night. And that's my pillow. What other people perceive and receive me as, that's mostly them for agreements.
Yeah.
In some of in all of that, I love it. I could see someone, and we've heard it in this space or heard it from our family members or friends, when you just talk, you know, nonchalant about what you're doing. You know, what's going on? Well, I did this. And then you might get some kind of pushback that's not maybe as clear as what Dr. Nakumbe said. But I wonder if that's that person's level of feeling discouraged. What do you think? Like when they say, or when they hear you talk about those things and they say, you know, good for you, but you know what I mean? If that's coming from them feeling discouraged when they push back.
I mean, you know, all of us humans self-reflect at our own, you know, levels, to say the least. So again, you know, we're humans, and damn.
I mean,
you know,
that's why
discouragement is something that they have to kind of reflect on. Like, as you too can be, we came from very humble beginnings, you know. So again, you know, I came from humbled beginnings. So to make that way ourselves in small goals, you have to set that for yourself. The only way you can complete something is if you set a goal. So, you know, you can't be upset that somebody else is moving a certain way.
I mean,
you have to move how you want, right? You a man, this is the square you want to stand in, this is the man you choose to be. So this is how you're choosing to move. Now, every man is not going to move that way. It just shows all men are not the same. So you can't be mad because one man is doing this, you know. If that's a goal for you, then find a way to do that.
I mean, the reason I led with the it's 24 hours in a day is because that right there is indicative of the entire way we all live our lives. It's 24 hours in a day. And like I said in my, you know, initial statement, it's about prioritizing. What do you prioritize as the hours in those 24? You got to sleep for 8. You got to work for 8. Like we're really cutting it thin on how many hours you actually have in a day. Then you got to eat for 1 and wash up and spend some time with the family and hopefully nurture and like it's not that many hours left if you really look at it. So what you do, how you prioritize, is it just being a potato and plopping in front of something electronic and spending, or is it reading? Is it giving back? Is it setting up your weekend to, again, you know, I can't feel bad because you feel bad. I'm just, you know, again, not loving myself, more worrying about your reality than the reality that we all have to live in. And your individual reality is no way more important than the reality that we all have to live in.
Ouch. Ouch. You might as well just tell me go fuck off and you don't care about me. Is that what you just said? I mean, all the reality talk and my feelings. I mean, let me just be honest. I'm actually used to no one giving a damn about me. So I hear what you're saying, but you know, I'm going to still do what I do. We'll pretend this is some special juice. I'm going to still do what I do. And I'm not even mad at you. So right now what I'm presenting is that person who's presenting as it's too late. Because what you two are saying now, one would either question like, dang, what did they get that? Like, how did they get that way? Where did you get that from? And then 2, not only did you get it, how in the world are you sustaining it? Because once I try this new life and put the stuff down, how do I sustain it? And when I hear you talk about, you know, hey, I speak my truth. Right now, currently, this would be my truth. What do we say to those people? And I'm not talking about what do we say to change them. We can't change anyone, right?
Indeed.
We can't change anyone.
Indeed.
What do we offer? Because this person impacts our future also. This person impacts our future also. Do we have words for them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My approach would be politically correct, but still realistic at the same time.
Okay.
Kind of like how I deal with my family and my daughters. Again, it has to be a certain level of sincerity there. So of course we're going to point out that, you know, we all do what we do, of course. But at the same time, we want to look at the results. We want to look at what we're doing and what it's producing for us. And if we're not happy in the results, we might want to think about changing our course of action. So, you know, not saying put the special juice down completely, but maybe not prioritize it over this certain goal that we got. Let's create a short-term goal, and maybe let's not drink immediately when we wake up. Let's go ahead and get this accomplished, and you know, we can keep in touch, and I can make sure we're getting it done, and you know, all of those things that we do to pour back to the community. But again, I think if we prioritize a little different and let people know that we understand that we all have our individual proclivities, we all have our, you know, things that we like, but at the same time, we can't prioritize them over our family, over our livelihood, and over us being good humans because we have a special indulgence.
So here's a core belief. Because if you grow up and father is gone, and then now I say I'm a survivor, and I see we have some people in the chat talking about taking accountability and taking responsibility. So because my pops was gone, here's a belief that I developed. I survived. And not only did I survive without a man, when I found out that my mother had another man on top of that and took care of maybe the siblings, the core belief of what one man won't do, another man will. I'm Gucci. So when I have my kids, whatever little small or great problem we have, I have no problem, hint, hint, with ease. I have no problem stepping back or out and dodging the responsibility, not taking accountability because of my core belief engaged with one of the other D's, dysfunctional thinking, distorted thinking, that what one man won't do, another man will.
I mean, that was actually said growing up. I didn't have to see it. The women were saying it. It was being taught. So I'm not surprised on, you know, how our society is the way it is right now with the way women are thinking, because that was taught to me.
Okay.
One man, yeah.
I mean, for me, it's the difference
not
between...
directly from my mother, but, you know, just the women. You know?
Indeed.
Yeah.
For me, it would be the difference between thriving and surviving. You know, we all survive, and indeed, you know, kudos. But at the same time, you know, thriving is something a little bit different. And that's more of what we should be aspiring to. Just surviving is, you know, merely existing. Merely existing is, again, not contributing. You know, overall, we want to be able to say that we did something in this world. We gave something to this world, whether it was, you know, children or contribution to the arts or something.
I mean, our first thing was our family. We didn't have that. Neither one of us. Like I said, the blueprint, we didn't have one. So we intentionally, consciously moved and, you know, behaved in a marriage mindset. We had to move away from family. We stayed secluded for damn near 12, 13 years, not partying, not doing anything else besides working, children, school, back and forth to pick up kids. Like, it was a focus, and we would consciously move, both of us, not just one person. You know, and when we walked down, like you said, the discouragement, we noticed that. That's the first thing in a marriage. You need to pay attention to your partner. So you want your partner to pay attention to you, but you, my dear, have to pay attention to your partner and notice when they're down, when they need to be cheered up. picked up, thought about, considered, empathized with. The things that really thrive in a relationship instead of, competing and nitpicking and taking talents and stuff. Let's tally on how kind we can be to each other, how considerate we can be to each other versus the the latter. Being mean and unnecessary combativeness.
Indeed.
So when I talk about self-reflection, my earliest memory, I was less than 2 years old, and it was a fight between my mother and father in the kitchen. Whether it was verbal, to me, it was a fight. You understand what I'm saying? So to remember something like that is unique. So I carry it whole, and I'm like, in my relationship, I never want that. So we set goals, standards, in the beginning of how to fight fair, to agree to disagree and be okay with that. We're both, two different species. Like, we have to understand that there's times that we are not going to see the same. And it doesn't mean you're wrong. We're not trying to win, right? It's not a win or lose type debate when you are in a union. You have to come to some common ground, compromise and sacrifice, all of those things. It's not being tough. And being that we didn't have it is something we tried to, put forth and forward in our marriage.
And the discouragement has something that, we've been met with the entire time. If I sit here and reflect, so we lived in the Adirondacks of New York, which is upstate region. It's 98.9% Caucasian. Yeah. When we moved up there, I went to college there, played basketball. So I went back to coach, connect with the young fellas. We had a really good time. It was dope. But when we moved there, when the U-Haul pulled up, the first question we were met with is, why y'all moving here? So, again, you can feel the discontent, the discouragement, the unwantedness. So 8 years fast forward, we pack up and we sit down at the table and say, where is the 180 of living here? Where is the complete inverse of where we can go now? And it ended up being Baltimore, Maryland.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to highlight.
On the Gallaudet, and we
Go ahead,
ended
Coach.
up. But guess what, Coach? Guess what's the first question we were met when we moved back here? Why'd y'all pick here?
Wow. Is that something?
The discouragement, the discontent, just being met with combativeness, the why here? You guys are outsiders. No matter if we were in a Caucasian world or in an African American world, we were still in America world. And again, like she said, just the family, just the discouragement of being a homemaker, the discouragement of being a one-pot family, a one-income family, speaking up for men, a adoration for men. All of that was met with discouragement, even until this day inside of these little boxes. So it's came with the territory. And again, all we can do is continue to put our best foot forward. Hopefully we can inspire someone to inspire someone else. And I think that's how we pay the world back, by having something people talk about with that little dash in between the dates that we were born and we died.
What I love that you said, well, all of it, but in particular, Mrs. She said about you two were intentional and you planned. And I think that's the difference between surviving and thriving, because you're instead of being at the effect of life, just going with whatever comes and letting it decide for you, and I forget what you had brought up before this, Dr. Nakumbe, so forgive me, but you're looking at where you come from, the family history, and you decide, okay, well, it's not so easy, of course, but you're intentional and you plan. You don't go with the flow and just accept whatever it is. You get in front of it instead, and you decide what you want and what you want to create. So I love that.
Now I'm aware of time, but I do need to pause just on what was talked about for us to absorb. And for those of you listening, I mean, those movies are in real life, but the movies where the airplane flies by and all the bombs drop, boom, 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 boom. We just had a whole plethora of bombs dropped. I want to absorb some of that. In addition to what Coach K just said, I hear that we're talking about making a commitment to the commitment. I hear that we're talking about putting away childish things, pausing our creature comforts. Okay? I hear sacrifice. I heard the opportunity to turn that U-Haul around and get back on the road, and we did not until we chose. Until we chose. You can be discouraged to your blue. We're not ready to move. We're not ready to let each other down. My helpmate, my partner, my Bonnie and Clyde, my whatever you want to call it, we are a team. No I in team. We are a team. Even though we're talking about discouraged and feeling disrespected, what if we look in the mirror? I heard Mr. Heasey say, talk about look in the mirror. Well, if I look in the mirror, but I'm adding filters and I'm adding makeup and I'm adding a disguise, not only physically, but psychologically, and I'm deceiving myself, manipulating myself, and manipulating others so I could be liked. What do you think about being liked? Because what I heard you talk about didn't give a damn about being liked. You had a mission to do and you stuck to it.
Yeah. Again, grew up the baby sister in New York City. I didn't care to be liked. There was a time I didn't like myself as a little girl. You know, growing up, and I talk to women about that all the time. You have to reflect on that constantly, because when you're raising your children, you can't forget that you are a child. It's going to be hard to relate to them. You know, there was always communities, neighborhoods, or just people in particular didn't like me. And I really liked the ones who told me to my face, like, I don't like you. I don't like you because your brothers are so cute. I don't like you because your hair. I don't like you because you're tall. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was always somebody. So, you know, it's neither a go or a no for me. You know, it is what it is. That's how you feel. I know how I feel. I like me.
Wait. So there wasn't any influence? The influence didn't change you?
The influence of
anything, because you could like yourself, but so where was the wiggle room? Like, was there ability to influence you to not like?
Oh man. I mean, once I started having children, the love of self was even more grand.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew but
how did you not get caught? Here's my favorite take. He says the foolery. How did you not get caught in the foolery?
Oh, I was in the foolery, but I was a child. You know, the teenage years, you go through that. You know, you cut school, you drink early, you know, you smoke early. Absolutely. I did all of that. But I did it in my teen years. So when I hear grown women say, I was young and dumb. How old were you? 21? Yeah. That's not young and dumb. To me, in my opinion, young and dumb is teenage years. Once you get to 18, you grown. We need to be a little bit more mature and move a little different. And if you weren't taught that at home, then that's, again, something you need to self-reflect on. And we need to go back and hold those people accountable. Those conversations are very fulfilling as a human being, because, you know, we lack that identity of finding out why or who did this or whatever the case may be. So, you know, sometimes people do need to go home and ask those questions, because you want to be validated. Even if you don't get what you want, you at least ask questions. You self-advocated. You know, once that ball starts rolling, it doesn't stop. You are the first advocate yourself, you know, and it's very important. But, you know, you got to be self-aware to do that.
Your grandma and grandpa, let me just ask, let's do it right here. Let's do it right here. Grandma, grandpa, like, this might be a stupid question, but like, why are you guys still married? Like, marriage is not even popular anymore.
You mean us?
Right.
Me and you?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I chose them. I knew what I wanted.
She did.
I was a little girl who actually did that. You know, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the baby and the baby carriage. So I was vetted from kindergarten. If you ask my mother, I had a boyfriend in kindergarten. So I had a lot of boyfriends and, you know, 2 older brothers. So I was learning boys along the way. So when I scream, men are not the same, they're not the same. You know, individual, learn that individual. And if that individual fits with your purpose as a female, as a woman, then you go along on his mission. But if he don't fit with your plan, because you have a plan too for your life, right?
I do have a plan. In fact, that's why I'm not trying to wait, because I'm not a female just playing one on TV. I'm not a female just playing one on TV. Right. But I got to get my number up. Like, I need to be prepared by the time I get married. He knows I know what I'm doing. I got to get my body count up.
That means learning the individual boy or teen man or whatever that you're with versus just throwing, like you guys say, the soul ties. Yeah. It's not about that. I actually was enjoying space, like we was a different time. We didn't have all of this electronics. We was outside. We was playing. We was early in the morning. We all meeting up and taking, journeys to the pool. And, we were street kids. So we didn't have parents chauffeuring us around or any of that. So I'm talking 7, 8, 9, and 10. We outside all day. So it was a different upbringing than the young girls growing up over the last 20, 30 years. They've been kind of confined. Stay away from boys, stay away from boys pretty much.
Y'all must be from the South.
No, we from New York.
Oh, I thought it's because they always played out in the backyard.
You from New York. Speak for yourself. I'm from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Right.
Different. And for me, it was just that, doctor. It was, again, prioritizing. It was intent. And, well-roundedness. You cannot say that you're the best player on your team, which I typically was. You can't say that you wear Ralph Lauren Polo 1992. Like, you can't say you want to eat at the Shark Bar. You want to go to Summer Jam. Again, New York is about being first. The first for everything. The first on the train, the first to the movie premiere, the first on the red carpet, the first. And to have that savvy, to have that je ne sais quoi, when it comes to your clothes and it comes to your food, but not to your penis, not to the woman you have a child with, not to your legacy, not to your last name. Idiotic, incongrusive for me personally. So again, the certain air that I walk in, when I was 16, I was out my house. They cook everything with pork in here. Everybody lazy in here. And again, that reflection, that honesty, I'm not going to be this. This is when that what not to do list kicked in. I'm not going to be these men. Beat on your wife, cheat on your wife, spend all of the money, run away for 2 days. Just don't be them. You don't know what to be, but don't be them. Right. That's the way you start. And then the rest came from Dr. Huxtable and Dwayne Wayne and Arthur Fonzarelli and Richie and Chachi and Cagney and Lacey and Starsky and Hutch. And again, it didn't matter what two people. I knew that you needed two people to get through this. Oscar and Felix. One was a slob. The other was completely neat, but they understood the living room was never dirty. Right. Kitchen was never dirty. Again, you keep your room dirty if you want to be dirty, but this common area, and again, I understood that you need another person to walk through the world. This world is 100% discount store, but having another person is 50% off. Who the hell don't want 50% off?
Right.
If you want to pay 100% for everything, good for you. But no, I would love to have somebody I can share this life with, share the fun with, have rites of passage and mark with these children that we have. But at the same time, I understand why people don't, because I have to walk 40, 50 years with this lady. We 25 in and about to go more. But one day we not going to be together. And one of us got to continue to pick up and go on. I told you, I just buried one of my friends last week. His girl still got to go on. His son still got to go on. It's really tough to continue the legacy, to grow with somebody and still keep that baton and run that marathon after they're no longer here. So a lot of these people are protecting themselves subconsciously. But, again, this world is tough to go through by yourself. And as a Black man, I needed somebody to share this plight, to share these hard days, to be able to get my back rubbed and say everything is going to be okay. And I understand that she could have chose anybody in the world, but she chose me. And I am going to prove to her every day that she made the right choice.
He kept showing up.
And that's all I can do. And that's how we look at it, and that's how, people see what they see. It's not made up. It's completely genuine because we like each other. This girl walked up to me out of all the people in the world and said, let's start this life. And here we are. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you brought to me and everything that you created for us. And, places like this is where we are able to share this testimony. So thank y'all for having us.
Absolutely
Right.
beautiful.
And
Yes.
it's not like we go through trials and tribulations. I don't want them to sit up here and, make it seem like it was all rainbows and cotton candy the whole 25 years. Absolutely not. But again, I never wanted to raise my children by myself or with another man or another male being, or my brothers having to take that role for him or any of that. So, again, when I talk about sacrifice for the ladies, maintaining that household, that peace is, and it's your mindset and how keeping the house functional, to say the least. It's not easy task. And when we're overwhelmed and frustrated, we may choose to take it out on the mate who's doing his part. But now we want you to start taking on some of my part because it's becoming overwhelming for me. And I say to those ladies, get support. You have other women in your family or friends, seek out that, because you're going to need it. And just know that this is what you came into it for. It's a lot. A house, a home, these kids, nutrition, it's a lot. But you signed on for it. So there was times I had to actually go get me some counseling for self, because it's not his job to fix me, to make me adjust into the life I chose. And them stepping stones was hard. That 5-year mark with them kids, that 10-year mark, that 13-year mark, hormones, it's no joke. And us women, we go through it. So I would suggest to the women, when you are going through those sadness times, go and get your damn hormones checked. Because if your progesterone is low, you will feel sad a lot. So it's something to be conscious of. And you can do that every 6 months just to see how the levels are changing. But be advocate for yourself and your doctor and suggest it.
So it may not be that I'm just not happy at home because of my man.
Absolutely. But we tend to behave that way. If it's one thing that you can do to make me happy,
right,
when you have kids in the house and your own debt and your job, and the weight shouldn't be all on him. So it's something. Don't think their job is to fix it all. Yeah, I've told them that before. There's many times that I've had to save you from me. Let that sink in. I've had to save him from me at times because of the emotional unawareness, to say the least. Because when perimenopause, premenopause, and menopause start to kick in, ladies, you better start talking to your elders around you, because they have not talked to us enough. They hide a lot. They didn't share a lot. So now we're here just trying to figure it out.
Isn't it a sensitive conversation and none of my business?
Mm-mm.
I mean, like from female to female, or daughter to grandma or mom, or isn't that a none of their business conversation?
It shouldn't be that way. Nah, it shouldn't be that way. I'm lucky to have had women where if I did ask, they were willing to tell. But it's only if I ask, though. It's just like a doctor. You're not going to just willingly tell me. I have to come and ask. They'll give me the truth, but I have to ask. You should have told me this 10 years ago. You should have been talking about this when I was growing up. So, the man back parties was more important than, diving into reproductive, ailments and shit like that. Right. So, I'm just saying, we're still having the parties.
Listen, we have a few shout outs, and I want to give, because we have some super chats that popped up. I want to make sure we get to the super chats, and I have one more kind of final question. Coach K, just kind of keep in mind, so far I've not heard once anything about each other's happiness. I've not heard once that the relationship has been determined by their happiness.
That's what it's been about. Yeah. Right. That's the goal.
I've heard service. I heard commitment. I heard goals and teamwork. I haven't heard anything about happiness.
Things bigger than themselves. Solely. Yeah.
Okay. We get to this question. CBN, if you would run these super chats, run through them. I think we just saw Snuggles. Snuggles says, what is the purpose of a husband in time when a woman can get all the amenities a husband used to be able to provide for herself? Thanks for the $4.99 chat. And I'm not sure how we'll do the celebration of these super chats, maybe all at one in the end. I don't have an answer for that question at the moment. Thank you. Yes. Harris Tribe, you are sitting here and you gave us a super chat. Good looking out. Harris Tribe says, thanks for having us. Great conversation. Thank you. Yes. And I believe I saw one up. Alexis from Texas, violation, doctor. What goes on in the house stays in the house. Side note, doc served me with usher voice. Papers, papers. All right. Beautiful animated says, B1, keep peppermints. Video 1, the breath. Keep peppermints on hand and be honest to friends. You're not helping anyone by remaining silent. And video 3, the man was true to his word. Quit playing. Leave here if you want. Yes. Thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Snuggles, before we get to that question, I'm not sure if we'll have time for that question. I think with what we heard tonight so far does lend itself to a lot of teamwork, support. But what if you can get those same things as an individual? Totally get it. But I want to cover this last D. And this last D talks about destructive behavior. Now, bear with me for a second because I'm going to land a few bombs here to talk about the power and significance of destructive behavior and how it's impacted our ability to move forward and to even allow others to move forward. So I have my distorted thinking. My thinking is off. I'm assuming. We already know what happens when we assume. I'm also projecting. Like, I already know what's going to happen. I'm blaming. Nothing ever is my fault. I had to move 4 times in 1 year, and it's not because of this. It's not because of me. It's because the landlord didn't want me to pay with cash. The landlord didn't keep we just moved out. The landlord and the landlord, are they having a committee meeting against you that all these individual independent landlords know about you? I'm in 10 different relationships in 2 years. Blame, catastrophizing, making everything into a big ass issue. Catastrophizing, like it can't just ever stay small. It has to be a big, huge thing. Looking for attention. Everything must be about me, which leads into narcissistic type behaviors. Those narcissistic type behaviors or borderline type behaviors or those personality disorders, they impact the opportunity for us to have healthy conversations, healthy relationships. When we start getting into gaslighting each other, Coach K, if you notice, I liked that Mrs. She said, paused and said, it's not that we don't have problems. It's not that we don't have problems. But when we can normalize the fact that we have problems, we can normalize that, then we can roll with it. When we can normalize that we are going to have problems, we can roll with it. A lot of times we act so shocked and surprised. How can you say that? What else did you expect me to say?
That goes along with expectations.
Expectations, exactly. Destructive behaviors, a couple more. Patterns that are unhelpful. Doesn't mean you can't do them, but are they helping us? Are they helping you? Is that type of behavior helping you? And I heard you both talk about, is that, and let me get it right, I'm not quoting you, but is that what you want? Is that what, see, there's a difference between what you need to do and what you want to do. And if that's not something you want, do you want to drink? Or are you saying, this is mine, but is that the lifestyle you want? Are those the consequences you want?
What's it costing you?
Yes, the cost. And I think that's where you two were going with it. Do you want that cost? Because if you don't, then it is up to you to make that change. We can't expect that someone's going to come in and rescue us. But there are people who will fall down and stay down and just at best, hello? You're in here. I'm not talking about I can't get up. I can get up. Hello? So destructive behavior will destroy what you are trying to do for yourself, what you're trying to do for your family, what your family's trying to do for you, and what the community is doing. So in kind of a wrap up, because again, I want to respect your time, what do you have to say about destructive behaviors that eats at the very fabric of what you're trying to work on?
Oh man, damn. I would say accountability feels like an attack when one is not prepared to acknowledge their behavior. So,
hold on. You can't just stop and say that again, please. Please say that again, please.
Accountability, when somebody wants you to be accountable, it feels like an attack or whatever. It can be a small thing, but it feels like an attack when I'm not ready. I might not even be aware of the behavior until you just now pointed it out. So now I got to dig deep. Like, damn, I was doing that. Okay, well, tell me a couple times I did it.
Right.
So again, self-reflecting on how my behavior is affecting somebody else, especially my partner. Like, that's the one person I want to know if my behavior is affecting you. Because for damn sure as women, if your behavior is affecting me, making me feel some kind of way, I'm going to say something. Versus him being vulnerable enough, or whatever you men go through where y'all so quiet and y'all don't want to say nothing. You don't want to, because again, we feel attacked, right? So he learned that very early.
Because we're going to bite their head off. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I came from that, being the baby, feeling like I have to talk. I need to be heard, the brothers, fighting against them, but I didn't want to have that combativeness with him. Right. So there was times I had to find myself and pull back. Like, I don't want to, no. I don't want to go there. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that. But it felt like an attack. And I was sitting in the shit, Dr. Nakumbe, for a minute and take on what he said, because he wasn't a, just talky man. Like, this is awesome for me. I love to hear him speak with you people. You know what I mean? So he wasn't that way for whatever reasons. So when he did verbalize or had to hold me accountable for something, and he did it in a peaceful way, he wasn't like vulgar as a angry man, like you did this. Right. He just expressed how he was receiving me, and it was hard. It was hard as shit. It made me cry a couple times, but I had to deal with it, sit in the shit, and not attack him, and change my damn behavior. Period.
Destroy is necessary for building. Coming from the nation, we deal with build and destroy all of the time. Like I said, you either a plus or a minus sign, and destruction isn't a bad thing. It could be set for restoration. It could be set for rebuilding. It could be set for retooling. And I think, again, it's how we prioritize, our intention. If we're intending to destroy, to build back up something better, to build, more innovative, to build more self-sustaining, more self-sufficient, to build a better nation, I'm with destroying anything. I don't care. Let's do it. Because again, I'm more about leaving a mark. I'm more about sparking a brain. Even if it's not the one that changes the world, maybe it'll spark the brain that does. So as long as we're able to do that, I'm willing to destroy even myself. But I think that's the difference between boys and men, between people who understand, like you guys said, the selflessness that we have is very purposeful. We understood the minute we brung kids into this world that it was not about us anymore. One day it might be again. We can put forth,
have our moments.
fruits, absolutely, of our labor to we can benefit once we produce healthy, productive citizens to society. But, it's not about us anymore. It's about these children. And while we come to these spaces the way we do, it's not about us. Right. This is a documentary for our little one. We speak the way we do because if she clicks on this at 20 years old, she will be able to receive it. A lot of people raise children. We over here, we raise adults. We raise people that are going to grow up to be 30, 40, 50, marry, have families. A lot of people are raising children. They think they're going to be 8 forever, and they're not. They have to go out, become a citizen, pick somebody to go through life with, and you guys are not preparing them for that. And this is why we say shame. We're not shaming people, we're shaming behaviors, because we don't want the kids to make the same mistakes we did. We don't want them to walk off the cliff. So when we get people that say, why do y'all tell the kids not to walk off the cliff? It's really confusing to us, because people say that, they will allow them to make
I don't want them to leave. I need my kids around, man. See, y'all talking about adults and gonna be gone, man. I'm gonna be alone. Y'all married, I'm not married. And so if I let my boyfriend husband, if son husband, if I let my daughter wife go, I'm alone, man. I can keep them down at 8 years old and I kind of keep that connection.
If you rear them up properly to be good adults, they'll create a family. And if you do the right things, they'll nurture and love you up and want you around as their elder. We can't just do them all wrong and expect them to come and take care of us. And, even if you do right, like the world is going to tell them they're not responsible for their elder. This is why the family solidifying values and standards is quite important, because we've lost that. There's so many old folks home. People don't take care of their elders. We're not there no more. So there's no love. Nobody care about the elders. So I'm not even expecting them to. It would be great.
Yeah.
But when we have that expectation for our children, I think we kind of keep them stuck in a space that they're not willing to flourish in the world, because they got to worry about taking care of your ass. That's not fair. It's very unfair.
She's very nice with it, Dr. Nakumbe. Coach K, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. And I wouldn't expect a different answer than the one that you gave, because self-preservation is the first rule of nature. And yes, you do have to keep someone around when you're in your elder years. But again, this is why you're supposed to have a spouse. This is why you're supposed to have someone that cares enough about you so that your children can be exactly what you wanted them to be. Adults, individuals, grow up and have their own life. But, sometimes we as people, we become selfish. Mm-hmm. And, like I said to my missus a long time ago, the things that make us happy are going to make us sad. We want our kids to grow up and be fruitful and marry, but then they're going to be gone and this house is going to be empty. So we have to be very intentional and purposeful. So I completely understand that, retort that these are the people that are here for me. But what about them? What do they want? Do they want to take care of, their parental in their days of fruitfulness, in their days of high financial, potential, and so on and so forth? So it's definitely a great observation, but is it with the children's best interests at heart?
Mm-hmm. I don't think we think that way anymore. I was watching an elderly couple. They were in the hospital, and there were some younger people, adults, who were going to provide care for this elderly couple, the one who's in the hospital. And the father kept giving all these demands about what he expected as far as the care. Not once did he ask the kids, hey, what's going to make it easy for you to help take care of me? He kept barking the orders about what he expects and how they should do it. And one child was like, yep, you got it, Dad. Another child, you could tell they were intimidated, but didn't want to mess up Dad's plans. But the caretaker, some of these folks aren't caring about the caretaker. It's about me. And if they make it great. I'm talking about me. I'm the one who raised them. I'm the one who spent a lot of money on them. I'm the one who's been taking care of them. I'm the one. If they're out of my life, screw them. I don't need them anyway. It's about me. It's about me. It's about me. In fact, and don't tell anyone I told you this, there's a leader out there, I won't say any names, but there's a leader that just said within the last month, they're not your kids. They're ours. And therefore, we can show them stuff at school that distracts them from the message you're giving at home. We can talk to our therapists and counselors and providers and tell them, make sure you're affirming to what the kids want, because it's about them, not for the future, but just because we say so. So I hear what you're saying. And again, I'm in my theatrics, but we are in a world where so many people have said, man, I don't know. BMU said on this network, and it aligns with exactly what you said. You have to do what you have to do for your children and your family. You can get caught up in the shenanigans if you want. I love the idea that you turned to your wife, the missus, and said, you put it in a very elegant and nice way. You have the understanding that one of us is not going to be so gentle in this message, and I'm okay with that. At the end of the day, I'm okay with that if it gets the results that our family needs. And I like the fact that the missus was able to turn and say, sometimes I got so caught up in my stuff, I've had to have enough introspection to then say, well, hold on, because I'm about to drag him. Hold on. Let's think for a minute what we're about to get into. Let's think for a moment what we're about to get into. And in a way, protect my partner. So we protect my partner so we have a chance for we. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I mean, it's purposeful because, again, we're reflections of each other. The best thing we can be at this point is a mirror. And if I can hold up something that she can reflect something positive from, my job is done. And vice versa, you know, and I think that's what some people really are afraid of, that barometer, that bar, that having a significant other. That's why they're called significant. I know they can sign for you if you can't. Definitely co-sign. But they are a bar. You have to have a certain level of koof, a certain level of respectability, individuality, and a lot of other things, because you want to measure up. You want to be a good person for your partner. Again, you know, all's fair in love and war. It
becomes hard over time. I think that's what people don't want to do. It becomes hard over time because you're going to have to keep competing with yourself to be better, to reinvent. Who wants to do that?
Because they deserve that much.
You're lazy in your style. You're lazy in your look. You're lazy in what you do around the house. You're lazy in your sex. Like, that's not going to get better unless you're intentional and purposeful and practice, right? Whatever.
Practice.
So, you know, you got to be able to have fun. Like, you know, it was some dry times. Again, like I said, that being still for those years was very important. That's because the children needed us to be. They didn't need us frolicking out in the street and him not being nowhere where he's supposed to be and me being all over the place too. Like, that was not beneficial for our children. So being able to say, this is what we need to do. And I ain't gonna front, just living the wild child life that I did in my teenage years. I was in the street all the time. So I knew once I take this role on being this man's woman and we start having children, I'm gonna have to sit my ass still. I'm gonna have to be still. I need to focus on them. And then again, I am the baby and started babysitting at 9. You know, so I've been around kids all my life, you know, so I was ready. Like, let's do this.
And I was definitely.
Everybody is really mindful. They don't look at the future and trying to stay in that. Like, because it's going to change. It's not going to be the same.
Or invest in those intangibles because, you know, again, you know, we've seen each other in our essence. So I've seen the nurture that she provided. I've seen how she's received in her old neighborhood. I see how she's proclaimed and, you know, the image that she has, you know, how many different families just love on her and how she's an inspiration to her sisters and her friends. And then she comes to my neighborhood and she sees me on the court being this leader amongst men. Forget women. 6 feet, 7 feet. Again, I try to be the best player on my team. So I really don't care how big you are. That shit means nothing to me. I call you tall and that's all. Because again, in athletics, it really doesn't matter about how big and how small you are. It's about athleticism. It's about timing. It's so many other things. And when she see me on the court, exerting authority, giving direction, checking out instances, making decisions, winning championships, like not only are these things happening, it's producing first place in really tough tournaments. So the proof is in the pudding. And I'm not going to dumb myself down, dial myself back. And you hear how she was in the street. I wasn't. I was on the court. I was in high school, college. So why would I dumb myself down, not love myself, let her control me, manipulate the kids, anybody? No, I've already done what I'm going to do. Y'all are not going to favor that, just like my team. Now, we're all going to get in where we fit in, and we're going to find a nice cohesiveness, and we're going to learn to manipulate the system so that we get what we want out of it, just like my team. But I am not going to deviate a lot from what I did. I'm going to be very sincere and considerate. And again, this is, I think, where we get lost in conversation is these men turn into monsters. And no, it's about well-roundedness. The same way I can give you kudos, I can give you constructive criticism. And if you're in line with taking the kudos, what a coincidence that you're not in line with the constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's not to stop it. So, you know, again, I've always stood on my island. And if I had to be on it when it's raining by myself with no food, I'll stand on my island. And the missus, you know, is a lot like that.
By itself.
Right.
He had been on an island.
Okay. I think that lends to Snuggles' question of why have invest in the whole cow when you can get the milk. It sounds like I heard you both say, no, we did have our time, our individual time. And then once I made the decision, so I had my time. And so I think for Snuggles, your question, yes, you can go and invest in all the milk, but is that going to help produce your family? And if people, not you, Snuggles, but I'm just saying to your question. And I think if people are wanting more time, take more time, but you have to understand what comes with that. What does that look like for your future? What does it look like for the family development? But you can take time to get all your creature comforts and all the glasses of milk you want. And when you're ready, you know, and as far as why should we? Well, we're talking about for those who are ready to move the family forward, move the community forward, plant seeds for the future. You can do that as an individual, but I can tell you from a clinical perspective, individualism causes way more impact than you realize. Identity issues, self-esteem issues, self-worth issues, doubting self, that's all kind of the same. Questioning everything's questioning. Procrastination. Like they won't move forward because they have to kind of second guess, not having identity and the legacy, and then making choices kind of like, impulsivity, engaging in deviant things. Like it has to be always one notch higher for them to even find acceptance in it. Or not only that, check this out, not knowing how to follow the rules, so they become antisocial, getting more invested in video games because they don't know what attachment is. They don't know what connection is. One parent was on their phone while they're on their phone. It has greater impact because not only is that kid going to suffer that, they're going to take that into the next generation or two to three generations forward. The impact of this Lone Ranger without Tonto, Lone Ranger parenting, intentional, he ain't shit, I'm not going to do it, screw him, forget her, we don't need, we're not talking about you. Listen, let's land this plane. Coach K, you have anything to add? I'm going to ask the Harris Tribe, what do you want to offer the community? Let people know how they can contact you. What do you want to give the community? What do you want people to take away from what you talked about today? And how can we support you? Please let us know, not just watching you, but if there's anything, any way that we can support you, and what task, mission, or offering request do you get back to the community in regards to this topic of dismantling all this kind of smoke and mirrors and bullshit and getting caught up in faulty thinking and getting caught up in feeling discouraged and feeling no way out? How can we push that out the way? You will be vulnerable once you push that out the way, but you can always re-armor. You can re-armor with some healthy stuff so you can get to doing what you need to do. Please close us out with your thoughts. And then I'll get you, Coach K. Sorry, I said Coach K and then you guys. Sorry for the mix-up.
I always suggest for everyone to self-advocate as far as their health and nutrition is concerned. Like it has a lot to do with how we feel, how your mind is balanced, how your hormones are balanced. So, nutrition is very important. And it's something for us women to honor a little more. We need to take that back because we have in this society feed us and our children, and it's not looking good. So the first step is being honest with yourself on what you need to do for yourself. And that's the main part. That man in the mirror is you. You have to look at it and, do the right thing for yourself. As far as what we need, I appreciate just this, one wanting to understand how to get here. You know, because when we grew up, the elders would always say, you know, you got to do the work. Marriage is work. Marriage is work. Well, what does that work look like? How am I supposed to journey in that? You know, we don't have couples to support, you know, in marriage, you know, so we need more of that, more couples to build on platforms and, you know, tell the youth about the work that needs to be done, you know, the struggles that we all go through individually, you know, as male and female, because it's different. It looks different, you know, and it sounds different. And, you know, that's pretty much it. Y'all know where we at on He Said, She Said, Harris Tribe Media Group, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we try to keep a little flow, you know, some transparency, some fun, some laughs. And, you know, all welcome. If wants to be there, will be there. And if they don't, they won't. Like,
okay. Thank you for having us, of course. I'm just going to say, where there's a will, there's a way. But that sentence started with will. You have to have some want. There has to be a desire to do different, not saying better or worse, but different. So if you want to change the trajectory, if you're feeling discouraged, dysfunctional, there is a way to stop. There is a way to do a complete 180, but there has to be will. It has to start with the first day. And we can build on top of the first day, but until we have the will to decide to want to do different, if nothing changes, like Dr. Nakumbe said, you know, one of my favorite quotes, if nothing changes, nothing changes. You can sit on the couch every day and want to be a millionaire, want to be the best, want to be a tech genius, want to be a sports star, want to be, but if you never move off that couch, you could want to be every day. You're never going to be. So you got to change. You got to get off the couch. You got to start the necessary, you know, movements forward and repeat. But it all started with that will. And, you know, for me, that it's indicative. I start to see it in people. Forget what you show me, forget what you present. I'm seeing what you drive off. I see your motivation. I see if you have inspiration. I see if you have determination, dedication, all the other Asians. These things, you know, come from ourselves, and they come because we want it. We want different. We want more. We want better. We want for our children. We want independence. We have to want. It starts with will. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Where there's a will, there's a way, but you have to have will.
There's always a way to start. If you've never written yourself a love note, please try. And in this love note, you have to confess your love for yourself. And you have to tell the things that you are aware of that you may need to change, that you're aware of. Someone else may have pointed it out to you, but take the time. Take the time and write that letter to yourself and read back at it and see how it sounds. That's a way to begin.
Thank y'all for having us. And we appreciate this space and appreciate what you guys bring to this space. So thank y'all.
You bet. Thank you. I see Quiet Storm had also come over with you. So thank you. CBN, please make sure we have, or our mods, please make sure we have their lines and YouTube channels in the chat. Also, I look forward to still listening. If you start any mentoring programs, if you provide any type of support, anything other than listening in, or if you recommend some other community folks, I know you had mentioned a few other channels that should invite people to listen to. So if you know of people who have that, please let me know, because I want to be able to invest in those programs so we can get some of the people who can utilize the mentoring, who need it, might not be able to support it, but they need it. I want to be able to get those people connected. So please let me know if you do have something like that. All right. I saw some shirts. I saw some T-shirts from somebody. So I don't know if that person's still making shirts. We can get some shirts. Quit playing.
By Nikki. Absolutely.
All right.
We always try to have our family, you know, brand and the art that we create to be a part of our identity. So the missus started a T-shirt business a few years ago. T-shirts by Nikki. and she's always making amazing custom work, amazing work for parties, bar mitzvahs, baby showers, and family reunions. So check her out. Her and Red Lipstick Vibes are very in touch and aware of the autism community. They always try to create awareness and give information and coping skills for parents that have children with special needs. Shout out to everybody on the spectrum. Light up the blue.
The most honest people you can ever meet in your life. We need to learn something from some of our folks. Seriously.
And the deaf community, ASL, we are amazingly fluent in and love the ASL community. So again, we are always trying to give back to anybody that needs enlightenment, encouragement, or information. And we are at Harris Tribe Media Group at Gmail. You can always hit us up, send us any suggestions, any constructive criticisms, comments, critiques, and so on and so forth. We are very open, and the wife is a homeschool teacher, so she advocates for homeschool education, early childhood development, and anything else to be astute and on hand with our children because they need us. And school might not be the best option for them.
Been able to do it the last couple.
Right. Yeah, Coach K, I don't know if you've been there, but I've been to their show. I've listened in. And I'll be honest, because we always want to support each other. But I can tell you, there's a small crew of people who I can listen to and take something from. Mm-hmm. What I love about, I'm gonna go backwards. I'm gonna do Mrs. I don't have to be backwards. The last show was Mrs. She Said, and what I love about your style, I'm not quoting you, but when I see you talking about blah, 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 the fuck out of here. Come on, Psycho. Quit playing. Now, let's keep it real. But if you don't want to take care of your health, if you're on that bullshit, whatever. Anyway, listen, I'm not just loving it. I'm like, yes! Get the fuck damn. You're a fat ass sitting up here with some Pringles and shit. Did you hear what she just said? Quit playing, man. God damn it. I'm like, quit playing. I'm not joking. I'm like, dang. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Who you fooling? I'm gonna hold the can down low. Who you fooling the fuck out of here? I'm like, thank you. So thank you. I know it's something being silly, but I'm spot on when I say that. And as I said, Mr. He said, I have to put my thinking cap on when I'm listening to it. Because it's not only like stats or anything like that, but it's and the brothers should be on that come on, and Rashawn and Lost in Translation, and a few others who come on World Class. When they come on, I'm listening to them like, whoa, introspection, think. You can fool yourself if you want, but think. So if anyone listening on the replay or in the audience, trust me, from my word, if you believe anything I say, if you want an ability to have that deeper thought, to have a chance to have your brain stimulated and for you to be able to think like, and challenged, not only on what you're thinking up here, not only about entertainment, but also about your health, which is wealth, and about the future of the children, please check these two out. Love you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Seds family, he said and she said, thank you so much for being here. Coach K, that was
a lot of good stuff.
Yes.
Packed.
I'm aware of time. I see we have a few super chats left. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can read them. So we did have Snuggles. What is the purpose of a husband in a time when a woman can get all the amenities husband used to be able to provide herself? I think. Gotcha. Thank you, Snuggles.
And I hope, Snuggles, we answered that, because I know earlier I said we might not be able to answer that. And then you were kind not to put back up there, well, where's my refund? So I just want to say, for super chats, we're not going to read that. Or we're not going to. So hopefully I did answer somewhat to that question about it depends on when you get into the relationship, what your needs are then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be a whole dissertation or something. I don't know. But that's a great question. And thank you again for your support, Snuggles. Beautifully animated. Thank you again. She says, accountability is an attack to those that don't take accountability on a regular basis.
Thank you, beautiful animated. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's funny. When I read something, like, in a joking manner, I feel attacked, right? It's like, oh my gosh, like you're calling me out if a funny meme. But it's so true though, because it's like, yeah, how dare I take accountability for that? Like, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so good.
But sometimes it's delivery. I mean, if I said to you, Coach, here's how I feel when this happens. How can I support? What can we do? That's different than like nitpicking and pointing out certain things, because a lot of those behaviors, they're repeated because something wasn't heard. Like if people actually heard you, we have less kind of snap attacks or less hissy fits or whatever we want to call them. We have less of those when we actually feel heard. And sometimes in that partnership, that's what it's about. I can melt down with you. I can say these things to you. I hope there's safety in that. And I'll work on reducing that if it's causing our relationship problems. But I hope there's also enough safety in our relationship to be able to do that.
That's really good. And that, what comes to mind is that is something that I would add to Snuggle's question. Is that something that you do have with your spouse, your husband? Because that was the question. It's being heard. Like, I mean, I don't want to go into it, but having that relationship and that connection, but also too, just that feeling of being heard. Like, what do you hear? You don't hear yourself. I mean,
right.
Could. I mean, when you got to figure out and have that awareness of what you need to work on, but it's a different thing. And I actually said this to my husband the other day. I said, I am a romantic, but I said, it's a really good feeling to know that, like, I'm not going to have to do any, there's trials and tribulations in every human's life, but it's cool to know that I'm never going to have to do that alone. So I will add that. We are a team, and that was really evident with the Harris tribe.
Yes.
But back to the super chat. Thank you, The Quiet Storm. He says, for the BMU family. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Quiet Storm. Thank you.
And I
love that little logo, the little thunderstorm.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then we also had one last one with a heart. It was Danique Anthony sends us a heart. Thank you for your super chat and your support for the show and the Black Man Unfiltered Network. So thank you, guys. And
thank you.
All those
thank
covered.
you.
Yes.
Danique, you think I'm saying that right?
I think so.
Danique, it's not Danique. Danique Anthony. So I hope I didn't butcher that too badly.
I know, me too. Sorry.
Yes.
I
we thank you. It's crazy. Coach K, I was just having these conversations about, I want to provide as much value as possible. I want to pour. I mean, anyone who knows me in my career, I want to pour out into the community. I'll share with you that I've most recently had to experience I recently had to. Let me back up. We're talking about a child that was 6 years old, and a stranger saw me crying with my mom on the streets, and he said, "Woman, something Why is this kid looking all sad? Here, give him a piece of gum, Wrigley Spearmint gum. I'll never forget it." I don't know who he is. I don't know his name. I couldn't even remember his face.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that he gave to me to put a smile on my face. Mr. Phil, I think people have heard my story already. Mr. Phil showed up. And then there were a couple of others, the people who adopted me, not only talked about me, not only talked to others about me, they actually came and got me. Okay. My last foster mom, who said, "This will be your last home," because she knew I went through 7 different foster homes. She said, "I'm not going to let you go to another." Even though I slept with my bag, like just waiting for them to come get me for the next home. She was like, "No." I say that because then clinically, I didn't know it. Clinically, the broken side of me, they say if you give more, you attract more with honey than with vinegar. So the broken side of me, unannounced, poured a lot of honey out so that I could receive
Right.
comedy, different things to pull people. I didn't know. That was kind of my. But another thing I started, and I loved doing it, was my give back. Secret Santas every year. I mean, like posting in my Facebook. If you know of a family that doesn't have, tell me. I like the surprise part of it. I like to see their reaction. What's going on? Yeah, you've been selected. Going into the stores, it gets kind of creepy, following people, listening for when I hear that kid say, oh, I want this. And the parent says, put that down. We can't afford it. And out of nowhere, my big tail, hi, you've been selected for it. And so the reason I'm telling this story is because I didn't realize over the last few years how there's been a select few who's been saying, you do too much. It went as far as someone telling me once, you need to keep your dick in your pants. Whoa. Like, what's that supposed to? Because I thought they meant like I was like the company hoe or something. I'm like, what's that? And they're like, no. It's so manly of you. Every time you see something, it's like a guy who always drop his dick out. Like you always want. And what they were saying was that every time there was a problem presented, I was there offering a solution. They told me that was misogynistic, but they never used that word. They just slowly but surely, and I was buying into that, like, oh, my bad. To where I was seeing them with the box. See, I didn't jump over to help you. I've been very good.
Yeah, you heard that little.
Yeah, and I've been slowly trying to change that, and then I wrote out like all the times in the last 2 years only that I've been giving back or giving forward, paying it forward. And I wrote down 139 times in a 2-year period. Little things from showing a kid a magic trick because they were sad at the restaurant with parents' permission. And then ending with some type of randomly paying for the meal. Sending super chats, supporting other networks. And I was thinking that's not wrong. Again, clinically, it's like, well, the broken side of me was, but now that I'm healthier, not perfect, but healthier, I know I don't need to do it, so I want to do it. Going to the Philippines and feeding the kids, just boom, here you guys go. $50 here fed like 150 kids.
Right.
But the reason I want to highlight that is because part of what's been happening is you have people who felt that they were serving a purpose. But you take another group of people or person who starts getting into their own delusions, or they start getting into their destructive behaviors, or they get into how they feel discouraged, and then they pour that into over here, and then you have people who start to feel discouraged and like they did something wrong. I've been hit with that lately. Like I said, a certain group, and what was most unique, it was Black women who, in a way, was telling me that I was doing too much. Now, the reason I say Black women is because I'm also a believer. Like I intentionally, like if I'm at a function or whatever, and I see whoever, and I see like whatever non-white person, I would be like, "Whoa, hey!" Like when I go to get my my feet's done, when I go to get my pedicure, and I see like some people like in June, the teenagers who are coming in, they're talking about the graduation stuff. I'm leaving saying, hey, there's three of them over there, but especially you see that other Black kid over there, make sure. So I'll do all three, but then make sure that, my whole point is look out for as many people as I can, but have a deep, deep connection to my own culture and my own ethnicity. So when you have your own ethnicity flip on you, and then it's like, oh, wow. So how that relates to tonight's topic when I see this couple that says, we know the mission. We know we are a team. And I feel proud to be like, wow, that's, and when I see this network, I mean, there are others, but I'm new to the streets here. My stuff is used to, I'm used to live panels. So when I see this network that says, hey, we've got your back. When I see mods who are here day in and day out, whatever the network that shows, who are eating up their time to invest. When I see that, it's like, wow, they know the mission, they're a team. When you and I can link up, like, different cultures, ethnicities, backgrounds, whatever, but able to come together and offer this to the community. When I see that, it's like, wow, that's awesome. To be told we shouldn't do it. And this is what Mr. He said and she said, we're talking about. How do people tell others not to care, not to do it? You're doing too much. You're wrong. I don't get that. And so when I saw the super chats tonight, it hit me personally because I'm like, wow, we have some super chats. Now that sounds silly, but trust me when I say, for those who sent those tonight,
right?
And it's not the money, but it's the investment. It's not the money, but it's you did that for us, like. And again, that sounds silly because trust me, I do workshops and stuff, and premium services and stuff. So I'm used to getting paid.
Right.
So it's not and I don't mean like I'm rich, but I mean it's not the money. It's the acknowledgement, the time.
Yes.
So I sincerely, I mean, again, I guess other channels, other content people, they might just be used to it all flowing in. But for me, it really hit me tonight to be like, wow. So thank you to those who sent. Thank you for those who are here week in and week out. Thank you for those who offer the feedback. Of course, our conversations, we don't always see eye to eye, but being here, offering the dialogue, the pushback, the celebration, the fun. I'm very thankful to our listeners. I'm very thankful to the community. I'm very thankful to you, Coach K. CBN,
likewise,
as much as we tease and laugh and play, I said this on another show on this network, but another show, I hope people understand is because we've established trust. The trust is so strong there. And I'm talking about people who've just met each other. But the common bond, that there's enough trust there that we can tease, and at the end of it, go have a glass of milk, like what? Talk crazy about each other, right? And still, at the end of it, have enough respect and honor towards each other that we're not personalizing it, or to the point where like, oh, how, we're gotten crazy. So I say all that, and I didn't mean, I went off in a blank trail.
No, that was powerful. That was powerful, and we'll have to talk about this at some point, but I think that's very interesting, just that dynamic, I guess, of the giving, but I like the word service especially.
Service, yes.
But yeah, the serving others and the people that, whether it's your patients or our clients, or then it's our audience and the people that we collaborate with. It's just a greater purpose outside of just ourselves and just getting on YouTube. And I guess it's like, it's a good feeling. And I'm glad that because of all the things that you just said that you do, and all the value that you contribute. Of course, like, we're in it together, but I'm glad that you also get to see that, I see it from an outsider, how much people appreciate you and your expertise and your time and things like that. So, and you deserve that, you know what I mean? But yeah, at the end of the day, though, people dedicating their time and committing their time, especially Lady DeVoe, I've seen you. She was working hard in the chat and just really rallying the support. Cannot thank you enough. Beautifully animated and CBN. Everyone. And then the Harris Tribe for this great conversation. Of course, it's not the entertaining, the gossip, the drama that really kind of gives us that little bit of a high. But this is the foundational stuff that really is impactful and contributes to lasting change. And this is just what it's about. So, yeah, that's all I can say.
No, one more time. Let me do this last part.
Yeah.
So I recognize that I do what I do, but also am transparent to say there was a broken side of me that did it, / does it for my feel good. Because no one's asking me to do these things.
Right.
No one is forcing me to do these things.
Right.
So I get an internal. And when I take a kid in the Philippines to the mall, and that's their first time, and they're getting on the escalator, like, whoa, because they're from the village and never been to the mall. Ah! And I'm like, you can do it.
You're right.
Right? No, that's kind of my little crazy, like, wow, really? But to know maybe one day, that kid will pay that forward. They don't have to know my name. They don't have to remember anything about me if they pay that forward. When I go to a nurse, like I see them in uniform or whatever, and I go to a nurse, it doesn't matter what gender, whatever, just a nurse, and I'm like, wow, so you help save lives. Thank you. Can I take care of that? What's in your cart? So but that's selfish. That's like, because I know you save lives, and I've had a nurse help me before, and it's like, wow, the appreciation is not just in their paycheck. What else can I do? So that being said, that level of transparency, that I get to feel good too, but then I wouldn't expect for people to serve in return, like to do, like I don't do it, so they do it in return.
Right.
And I want to tell myself
that.
I don't expect it. Like, oh no, I don't expect it. But then at some point, I don't know if it's just kind of the way, it's not the wear and tear, but it's the question of, am I giving value? Maybe I'm pushing people away. Oh no, people don't come to YouTube for mental health services. And then, I challenge people on their thoughts, or like, that's not why it happened, and so people start disappearing. It's like, oh man, am I? It's not about you.
It's
It's
like
not
the
about
bad breath thing, though,
Yeah, yes, right? Like, tell me.
But I get what you mean,
Yeah.
though.
So the beauty is that you and I still have the motivation to do it. The beauty is Black man BMUs actually talk to us like, hey, whatever you need, because at the end of the day, the community can benefit from what you offer. So it's not even about him. It's not even about us. It's about what the community can get from it. And again, that's back to that, like, I think when I'm down, you've been able to help lift. If you're down, hopefully I can help you lift. BMU down. And that's what I think we do to each other. And that's why we have the motivation to give back to the community. So
absolutely. And I want to add one last thing too, is even helping that one person, and this has been a theme lately this week, is helping that one person, even in like marketing, or even like, when we're coming up with, let's say, our programs or whatever, we think about that one person we can help, because obviously just to wrap your mind around it, but also to be more effective and things like that. But when you think about helping that one person, what does that allow them to do? It doesn't, and it's not, so it's like, oh, I'm trying to change the world, but at the same time, it's like, but don't dismiss helping that one person and doing that one thing, because that is a ripple effect. What will just thinking about faith, for example, because I was talking to the lady that I disciple with, but when she shows up for me, what does that allow me to do? And then that person's impacted, and then they go out and impact another person, whatever. So even if it's that one person directly, it doesn't stop there. So
yes, I'll give a shout out to Beautiful Animated. Many times I've listened to her on the panels on the shows, and she has that laugh. I can't do the laugh.
Yeah, I know.
But
her laugh.
But my takeaway from her laugh, and even her words, you can't deal with stupid people. Just don't deal with stupid people. And that's crazy because there are times when I'm like, she's like, Doc, wait a second. Are you talking about stupid people? I can't even have this conversation if you're talking about stupid people. And it's like, oh, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And even though I say, well, not everyone is stupid, like they're stupid people. Listen, and then that laugh, but it brings me back to that reality of, well, how much am I getting sucked into these thoughts, beliefs, discouraged, feeling perceived that I'm feeling being disrespected. So,
Right.
so anyway,
So good.
it's been an honor. Listen, Coach K, just so you know, I am going to thank you as well, and your husband and your family, because when you take away time to be here for the community with me, you're taking time away from your family. So not that anyone's forcing you or asking you, but the fact that you're doing it, I want to acknowledge you, and sideways thank your family for their dedication of saying, yep, we know you. You know, my wife is with you, our auntie's with you, my sister's with you in the program. So I just want to thank you and your family for allowing that space. However they do it, however you do that. So thank you and your family for doing it.
And I'm so glad to be here. This is truly, I love this. I live for this. And I truly enjoy my time with all of you, and also like learning from you, Dr. Nakumbe, and just sharing a stage. I'm not going to get into all the, how much I look up to you and things like that, but sharing this stage, but at the same time, sharing this stage with you, and also you dedicating your time. Sorry, my cats are being crazy. But yeah, like, because you could be anywhere else doing all the things that you do and serve all the populations. But yeah, so thank you. And
You're welcome, but I don't want, thank you, but I wanted that your way. Like I wanted to give you the thanks and your family. So thank you.
I got you.
I'll
let it sit.
Yeah. Let it sit. Also, Lady Naboa, I think specifically because when I was brand new to the streets, actually it was the Real Precious that got me connected, and to the show where BMU was talking about that vulnerability, men in vulnerability. So I think that was my first real connection. Again, the Real Precious. But Lady Naboa was also the one kind of like shining the light, pointing direction. Sir, this and sir, that, and then Doc, you want to. So thank you also, Lady Naboa, for doing that. And then I'll go to another channel and be like, oh, you're here. Yeah? I'm like, oh. And I go to another spot. Oh, what are you doing? Hey, I'm putting in the work. I'm like, wow. Like, whoa. So again, thank you. I saw a super chat fly by. Lou Medic.
Yeah, Lou Medic.
For a second pack of gum.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you. Now listen, I don't want to get all teary-eyed and stuff up here. But I just want to make the point.
Is that in reference to the Wrigley's?
It said here's $2. It's $2.
That's what I thought.
For a second pack of Wrigley's.
But I thought so.
Yeah. And thank you. And the reason again I shared those stories was just because I wanted to make clear the significance of like, whoa, we got super chats. Because remember, outside of these streets, I'm talking about like in my live panels and live client conversations. It's not that I know I'm going to get it, but I'm talking about a space where people are already paying for services. So there's a difference when people show up. There's a difference between when people show up because they want to, and because they wanted to give back, versus the person who's saying, yes, I'm here to see you. How much does it cost? That's a different population. So when I see it from people like, oh, okay, thank you. So that's why I was like, wow, thank you. And so I get the backstory to say where my appreciation stems from.
I love it. That's sweet. There's so many good people. It's where you what you focus on. But yeah.
All right. Well, next week, I'm aware of time. Next week, because I promised CBN, I want to talk to him. And there are a number of people in our community, this community, YouTube streets and stuff, that I think don't get enough support and by actually being heard. And so CBN, one of the things I wanted to do is when we get a chance, and I know we're pushing time tonight, so it may even be next week's show, but I actually wanted to have a dialogue with him and actually talk and hear his story. Like everyone has a story. And I wanted him to have the opportunity to share a story. I wanted to ask him a few questions to challenge some of his beliefs so we can see also why he does what he does. I don't know if you heard him talk about being a grandpa, not giving up on his family, even though he dealt with a level of rejection, push away, disconnect, abandonment, and attachment issues. And it's like, oh, so how did you become this teddy bear? Like, how did you become this network guy? How did you become... And so I wanted to be able to share that story, let him share that story. give a little pushback to say, well, hold on for a second. Every time there's a question, his answer is related to something he did. So now there's a question, well, at the time when I wanted to challenge that to say, not so much to like shame him, but I want to challenge that to say, sir, you are enough. You are enough. But usually when you're behind the scenes, we qualify sometimes our statements. We qualify things. So a lot of those stories are qualifying. I've been there, done that. You have a professional panel, and these guys are dropping nuggets, and ladies are dropping nuggets, and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then if CBN gets in, the qualifying story. Well,
right.
And when I think about it, and I always said to the people,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, do we even recognize, as a community, the gem inside of CBN? I mean, we think,
Right.
but do we recognize the gem in CBN? So,
I
sir,
love
in the
that.
background there, I just want you to know I plan on having that conversation with you. He volunteered to do that with us here on the show. But considering the time and to not kind of take away from that first big piece, even though I was thinking we could do them both, to not take away from that big piece with the Harris tribe, if it's okay with you, Coach K, we'll end here. And then CBN, if it's okay with you, to follow up with you next week to have that dialogue and give you that space to acknowledge you and celebrate you.
Yeah, I think that'll be great.
Any closing comments for tonight's show, and anything that we should catch up here from the comments?
I just want to say shout out to What We Know, JT. And he just joined us in Lady D. But great conversation. I can't say anything else. It's just great. And I know we're gonna be. I'll let you go too, but we're gonna be ending the show with the violin. But you go ahead.
Oh yeah. For our super chats, definitely.
So that's what Beasley Animated requested.
Yes, thank you. I surely forgot. Thank you. Beautiful Animated also said people are gonna. I forgot what she said. She said something. Just do me. But yes, thank you. JT, What We Know podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you so very much. If you get a chance to catch a replay or if you heard the show, I think it was awesome. Some key points we made. I was giving pushback to the said family, the he's Mr. and Mrs. He said, she said, and giving pushback to their strength as a couple, their strength as a builder, and the pushback was awesome about what they do to stay together, how they stay committed, how they made a commitment to their commitment. So definitely, folks, check out the replay. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. We really want to get the Aggie rhythms going. So please leave a comment after the show. For those watching in the Philippines, thank you so very much. I know it's already your Friday. So good morning to you, or whenever you listen to this, but good morning. For the Coach K fans out there, thank you for continuing to show up and to support her. For my fans, thank you for being here and to continue to show up. But overall, thank you for the network, for you guys showing up. And in closing, in regards to the topic tonight about breaking that cycle of inaction, and some of the key points we talked about tonight, the 4 Ds. So feeling disrespected, please check. Is it truly you being disrespected, or is it perceived disrespect? Is it your disrespect, or is it a story of someone else that you continue to carry? My dad, growing up as a black man, said one time the Greyhound stopped somewhere. He asked, he was bringing my niece, his niece, and asked for the baby bottle to be filled. They stopped at a place where they said blacks here and whites there. They filled it up with toilet water. So I grasped on to the level of disrespect that he received. I made that now my mission. And then am I perceiving disrespect based on his story? So a lot of times we see things and hear things, but are we getting the correct story? And then how are we latching on? And is our latching on helping or hurting? So perceiving disrespect versus truly what is disrespect. And if we can get to that point, and JT was talking about this the other night, if you can get to the point where you are not caught up in judgment, you're not caught up in perception, you're not caught up in what someone's believing about you, thinking about you, or judging about you. If you can let that go, and if you know that old saying, like a water on a duck's back. If you can let that go,
Yeah.
and I'm also a huge fan of that belief. If you don't personalize it, then what was the disrespect? What was discouraged? That's another huge one. I actually say discouraged comes first. Usually we get discouraged. We stop believing. We stop believing. And when we don't believe anymore, what does that mean? And I'm not talking about just your hope story. Hope is very powerful. But I also heard that statement, hope in one hand, shit in another, which feels more real. Which feels more real? I know which one feels more real, but I know which one gives me motivation. And so discouraged. And I think that's at the core of all of us, that sometimes we get discouraged and we want to give up. We no longer fight, or we phase out, age out and phase out and say, let the next person do it. Let the next person do it. Why should I care so much? Or I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of getting my ass kicked every time because I blah, 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 blah. But I will tell you this, I'm willing to bet my Bears tickets. The ones who are tired of fighting probably haven't felt heard for so long that they believe that what they've done has been for nothing. But if you've been an advocate, if you've been a fighter, you might not see it. You know, like a teacher, they may not ever see that student that comes back 30 years later a student may come back and not see that a student may come back 30 years later and not see that teacher that believed in them and that they want to come back and say thank you. That nurse or doctor may never see that patient that they saved their lives. That so-and-so and so-and-so may never see. But before you start doubting yourself and feeling like, please know whatever you've done to fight, that someone got it. And if you've been dipped in the well, you get it. People aren't doing what they do for nothing. People aren't doing what they do for nothing. Some people are sacrificing. I listen to BMU. He gives a damn about some personal feeling stuff when it comes to his family, when it comes to his kid, when it comes to this network, when it comes to the people. He gives a damn about what some other little, sorry if I hurt your feelings. It's much bigger than that. So again, is the person actually dealing with true disrespect? Are they dealing with discouraged because of tired or someone else's behavior or treatment? And then what is that leading to? Feeling discouraged and feeling disrespected, horrible combination, especially if it's happening at home, with your partner, right?
Right.
But when it takes over, that you start to have faulty thinking or distorted thinking. Are they fucking with me? Do they want me to fail? When you start blaming because you're not really thinking this through, when you're over catastrophizing.
This always happens.
Yes. But then you get into this destructive thinking. Nobody give a fuck. I'm out. I'm done. This is stupid. Whoa. You abandoned ship already? No, man, because this is so the distorted thinking is also becoming dysfunctional thinking and then dysfunctional behavior, destructive, ruining relationships, running prematurely from opportunities, shutting down, not moving forward, closing their mouth, just sit idle or become bobbleheads, not even know who they are anymore. Those are the behaviors that are just crippling us
Cycle
from being
too.
better, wanting to look in the mirror, but discouraged at what we see. You know, if you look in the mirror and you look at anyone else, you'll see that one eye is bigger than the other eye. One is more slanted, the other one is more oval. Look in anyone's face. Look at anyone's picture. One side is more round on the cheek, the other side is more chiseled. Look at anyone in the world. One side is more round, the other side is more chiseled. One eye is more round, the other one is more slanted. everyone in the world, it gets bad, Coach K. I can't even go to a movie without, which eye is it? So
I know. We and my husband talk about that.
But,
especially with each other. Because I had a bad lazy eye when I was 3, like bad.
Right.
And he's like, no, mine's the same way. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we all have it. But we look in the mirror thinking, no one has it as bad as I do.
Mm-hmm.
No one.
That's what I was doing in that conversation.
We all do. So push down those walls. Let those walls down. You will be vulnerable. Coach K, I want you to imagine if there's a wall in front of me and I push it down, I'm vulnerable. I look at some of the content, clinical. I got one of these big mics. I watch how many people actually talk behind the mic. Do you know this is a barrier for some people? This is a barrier, a psychological barrier between me and the people. If people sit in the chair, they sit they flip the chair around, the back's in front of them, like you lean on the back of the chair.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that in therapy or group therapy, that's a barrier. You are actually putting a barrier between you.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there's so many of these little kooky clinical things. It's like, wow. But stop looking in the mirror and comparing. We live in a compared world.
Right.
No one is different than you. You have money problems, they have money problems. And if they made it rich, were they born into their richness? You take 2 people to the top of the mountain. One climbs the mountain, the other one just landed there because they're rich. Mm-hmm. When it's time to go down the mountain, see which one is bitching. All right.
It's a great point. That's such a good point.
So watch out for the destructive behaviors because they will destroy you. Enjoy your juice. But at some point, if you're not mindful, it will destroy you. Destroy you, like your health. Then all of a sudden you're missing work. Start paying attention. Raise your awareness. You can make love to your partner. You can make love to your wife or to your husband. Start at 7 p.m., end at 7:03, and then go in the computer room for 5 hours. 5 hours. And then you wonder why your wife is bitching, like, did I do something wrong? Do I need to lose weight? Did I do something? No, why are you in the computer room for 5 hours? I know, it's a good game you're playing. Hint, hint, it's a good game you're playing that's going to cost you your marriage and your family. But some people don't know. They get into it and they get so into that addiction, they're unaware, and it's destructive. Mm-hmm. So these are psychological things that are impacts of trauma that people don't know. I'm glad we had the conversation tonight. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
For that conversation. I have nothing else for us, Coach K. If you have nothing else for us, we thank you for those who are in the chat. CBN, thank you for running the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yes.
Black Man Unfiltered Network, thank you for allowing us this space and to share in perspectives. We will see you all next week. Take care. Peace.
Thanks. CBN, hit those request songs.
Let me slow it down. Rapping with the singing, I be swinging. You can get it all free like welfare. Yeah. Back to the beginning, know what I told ya. I got 2 degrees, now I'm dumb rich. This sound like some 718 shit. The living weirdo on the same shit. Gave me in, let's go buy a Lennox. through the desert, but when you admire the light, see the villains are paper mache. I'm on the way to the promised land, no contraband. I'm an honest man, I'm coming. Have y'all met me? I'm set free, playing my part like the Red Sea. Man, I'm from heaven, I'm here with my brother in the volume's 11. Now we're getting rowdy. Swing from the scaffolding, spiritual happenings, miracles are all around me. This ain't no balcony, I'm in the front row. Watch me